Right. I am live on LinkedIn. I guess I'm live on YouTube as well. Check in. Yes, I'm live on YouTube as well. So I'll just cancel the how do I view on LinkedIn, correct? It's great. It is on both ways. And now I will just text people the Nishant Mittal. There goes YouTube, and there goes LinkedIn. And there goes my message. You folks, come on in. Episode 4. YT and LinkedIn. There goes the message. 85. 85 it is. Okay, 2 people are on LinkedIn and many people are on YouTube. That is great. Perfect. We'll begin. Today, technical difficulties took a backseat. I hope everybody can hear me and normally. Please let me know. We will begin today's episode. The show that you deserve. You deserve it. Hello, everybody. Let's begin. Let's begin. Are you ready? We'll begin in 2 minutes. 1 minute, actually. The show that you deserve. Good morning, everybody. Technical difficulties didn't take a long time today. That's very good news. Not sure of my hair though. I hope my hair do not have technical difficulties. Great. Good morning, good morning. 8:07. Let's begin at 8:08. Perfect. All right. All right. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Perfect. Everything is great. I'm beginning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Thinker's Frequency with Nishant Mittal. 4th in a row. We are having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our wives, our husbands, our friends, everybody. Not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. They just did. Things got better, ladies and gentlemen. With Thinker's Frequency, this morning, we're gonna stay on our journey of reading between the lines things that are especially interesting in the world of business and finance. So tune in to your daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before you start your day. But before we start, we're gonna have a sip. We're gonna have a simultaneous sip. We're gonna sip something together. It's supposed to be very lucky. For the simultaneous sip, you can have a cup, a mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice or stein, a canteen jug or flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. Today I'm having coffee. And here we go. Makes everything better. Dopamine hit of the day. Just when I think it can't go better, it just gets better. Perfect start of the day. All right. So let's begin. A very interesting story is that Indus Ind ex CEO and four others banned from insider trading. So you know what happened with Indus Ind? Uh, the bank had some problems with its forex accounting, so they were basically using fraudulent accounting methods to inflate profits, and that sort of blew up. And then they had to announce a 1.6 thousand loss because of these false accounting practices. And then it spilled over to the next quarter itself, though the bank said, hey, we are declaring everything in good faith and everything. But they did some fraud, their forex unit or something. And now these people are getting banned from insider trading because they allegedly, not allegedly now, proven, they were basically indulging in fraud and corruption, corporate corruption, which is not a news, and which is especially not a news when it comes to IndusInd Bank. Because a very interesting story about IndusInd is that it's owned by Hindujas. Hindujas are one of the richest families of Europe, and they they own IndusInd Bank, they own Ashok Leland, and a lot of other companies. They're a very big conglomerate. And the founders, the patriarchs of IndusInd Bank, who live in Switzerland, yeah, they live in Switzerland. They were basically trafficking maids from India. So they were trafficking maids from India and not even paying them fair price, like the daily wage, the minimum. What is it called? It's the minimum wage, right? Yeah, they were not paying them minimum wage as per Switzerland standards. So they were bringing these people from India, making them stay in bunkers without beds. They were they confiscated their passports so that these people couldn't run away, and they they were not paying them. And they said in their defense that they were taking care of them. Obviously, they were not taking care of them, and somebody noticed in Switzerland, and they have very good labor laws, unlike India. So they caught these people. They had a court hearing, and in that court hearing, they were actually indicted of that crime, and they were announced that they could be imprisoned. Well, they will obviously not be imprisoned because they'll be counter hearing and stuff. But it was clear that these people were caught red handed trafficking maids from India, uh, despite being the richest family in Europe, which is saying something, which is incredible if you think about it. Like, how incredible can things be? This incredible. I'm not making this up. They actually got caught. You can read it up. They got caught, and the court said that they would be imprisoned and so on and so forth. And they were like, no, 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 no. We are very old. So if the boss is like that, you can't expect any of their companies to be ethically compliant, morally righteous, or even legally sound. That's just wishful thinking. If I were in the government shoes or enforcement directorate shoes, I would actually inspect everything from Ashok Leland to everything they touch. They probably have a zinc company. They must be screwing everything. Scum floats at the top. Uh, well, Adani wants same fee for twin Mumbai airports. So I'll give you a background for this. Adani made the Navi Mumbai airports. So they invested a lot in its making. Adani has really uh, done a lot of capex. So the government's biggest complaint, if you know about it, has been that Adani's haven't. The government's biggest complaint has been that private companies in India, the India Inc., they don't do capex, unfortunately. So if these people are not doing capex, the sole responsibility of capex goes to the government. Now, government can only do so much, right? You can't expect government to invest in everything and government to actually develop everything. Capex is capital expense for people who don't know. The things which actually can lead to country's development. Let's say if the government sets up a facility or creates roads or highways or airports or something of that sort, that is capex, or does a new factory or some SEZ or whatever. India Inc., all the biggest Indian companies, they've never done any capex. I mean, historically, they have been very shy of making capital expenditure in India. So they what they do is they have their set units and they seeing how those units make money, and then they just watch that money and wait. Maybe they're not happy with how business happens in India. They don't want to create more facilities because of corruption, because of Babu Shahi, because of whatever. But Indian Incorporation, India Inc., which is called, has been very shy of making capital investment. In fact, if you look at the numbers, you'll find out that most of capex, I think 85%, I'm 55 65% is government, and corporate share of capex is going down. I'm not sure of the numbers, probably even higher than 60 70%, but I'll have to check. But Adani has been the sole flag bearer of India Inc.'s capex. It has actually created a lot of ports, a lot of airports, a lot of facilities, things that lead to new development, which they don't get credit for of because of them being so big. So they took a lot of debt, a lot of risk capital, and then they invested all in the country, which is great. Downside of this is if one company takes a lot of debt and then it defaults on it on that debt, then the entire country gets screwed, because that's what happens in India a lot. But Adani hasn't done that. Were they've been tight with their debt repayments. Actually, I wrote an article on this when Hindenburg said that Adani's scam. I wrote an article saying that Hindenburg actually ended up saving Adani, because Adani's debt was a downward spiral. It was ballooning. Adani's debt was becoming too huge, and its repayments could have been an issue. But when Hindenburg wrote that piece, a major funding uh, announcement of Adani went down, and they started proactively pairing their past debts, which actually strengthened the group. So Hindenburg wanted to kill Adani, but instead, what happened was that they gave stock market people an opportunity to buy. They paid all the debt, brought their debt ratios down to normal, and then they again went up, which is so great, which is so awesome. So Adani has basically wants same fee for twin Mumbai airports, because it essentially created the Navi Mumbai airport. But Navi Mumbai airport gets less tariff than the main Mumbai airport. There are less flights there and more flights here. And as a business, they want uh, more tariffs on the Navi Mumbai airport, so that even if it makes less business, they can make money because they've invested a lot of capex. So that's very interesting. And they're raising 5,000 crores via bond sale. to create more ports. As I said, Adani ports to raise 5,000 crore via bond sales. That's not an not surprising to me at all. Adani has led the capex game in India, and they've made a lot of things. Shankar Gaur sir writes, minimum wage rate. Yes, in June 24, Swiss court convicted four members of Hinduja family. Prakash. Yes, exactly. Thank you, sir. Human trafficking. Thumbs up. Thank you, sir, for the thumbs up. So, with 200 million raise of Dhan is going to be a unicorn. Dhan is a stock market trading app, yet another after Grow, after Zerodha, after everybody else. Angel Broking, Angel One, it's called, and every other. So Dhan has started is raising 200 million. It's going to be a unicorn. Very interesting. Now everybody knows Zerodha makes a lot of money, right? Now everybody knows Zerodha is huge. But when Zerodha began, so I read a book called No Shortcuts, which is a very good book, and it talks to Nitin Kamath sir in 2018. 2018 was when Zerodha had proved itself as a very, very astoundingly extraordinary business, but Zerodha wasn't in news that much. Zerodha was still sort of an undiscovered success story, right? So, what I found out, so I started reading about Zerodha after I already knew about Zerodha before I read the book. But when I was reading that book, I went to Varsity or Zerodha's blog, and I went to the first blog they wrote. Like apps, I went down, down, down. Now those blogs don't even exist. I tried finding them, but I couldn't. So I went back to the first blog of Zerodha, and in 2012 they had announced that they were raising money from somebody in Dubai or something, a million or $2 million. They were trying to raise money, they said in that blog post and a press release, that they might just be raising money. But they didn't raise money, or they couldn't raise money, possibly because of however VCs treated them. And then it decided to bootstrap. And then Zerodha went all the way as an independent bootstrapped company. Now just imagine a company like Zerodha, it was once in the market for raising money. And it couldn't. And it couldn't raise money. Or talks fell through. Clearly, I've read that blog post. It doesn't exist on their you know blog anymore, but I read it, and they were looking forward to $2 million or something. At least they announced it, and then it fell through. Just imagine if a company like Zerodha couldn't raise money until it was huge. Just just imagine how VCs operate, and not just Zerodha. Zerodha started back in 2010 or 11, and the first company in the same space that got VC funding was Grow, I think, and it was only in 2019 or 20, 18, 19, 20, one of these 3 years. Somebody just fact check this. When did Grow raise money? And let me know, when did Grow raise money, and you will understand what I'm saying. Because so it took VCs, the entire VC community, a full 10 years for a company to successfully prove its business model at not hundreds of crores, at thousands of crores, with 50% net margins. With 50% net margins at thousands crores. So right now, and Zerodha has always been at 50% net margins. Even when it was a 1,000 crore company, it was making like 450, 500 crores in net. When it was a 500 crore company, it was making 250 crores in net. So it has been a 50% net margin company for throughout its life, bootstrapped, growing almost 100% year on year in the initial years, at least five or six. Even that company couldn't raise money, and no competitor of that company raised money from VCs. So just imagine how crazy this is. Effing crazy. Now, people can think, why didn't Zerodha raise money in the beginning? Did it because was it because Mr. Nitin Kamath sir wasn't from pedigree? I'll definitely say that. I'll definitely say that. It's because VCs have a lot of biases. They are a boys' club, closed door boys' club, which is basically Indian VCs at least, which invest only on people they know, and who they know are people from their colleges, and so on and so forth. But it should make you think that the first competitor of Zerodha, a 50% net margin company growing 100% year on year, reaching 1000 crores in revenue or 2000 crores in revenue, I'm not sure, raised its first competitor uh, in 2018, 19, or 20. Somebody just fact check this. I'm sure it's true though. That says something. Anyway, so America first lands again, visa interview pauses, raises more question. It's very interesting because America now they've Donald Trump has cut Harvard's foreign student input take to 15% or something, and it was earlier higher, and they've mandated that there should be a social media screening of all the students that these colleges take in, which is great. Which is great, right? uh, would you not recommend doing a social media screening of students before they're admitted to such prestigious universities or so-called big universities? What if like they're like intifada, intifada, and so on? They're like so uh, that kind of problematic behavior, just to deter it, they're like screen these people. If they write something like that, it's just not cool. So that's something that's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the political space, but I try to not be political about things, especially when I'm talking business and finance. But it's very interesting that well, let's not talk about it. Nissan on track to invest 700 million over 2 years in India. Nissan is basically investing 700 million euros in 2 years in India, which is great because Nissan as a company is struggling big time. So if you don't know about it, I'll tell you that Nissan was trying to merge with Honda because the entire economy of uh, automotive companies has taken a turn, a very big turn for the worse, because of uh, electric vehicles and because of Chinese companies taking over the world. It's become a very, very difficult play. So, uh, Nissan was trying to merge with Honda in a bid to create a bigger company. Like Japan has Toyota, Japan has Suzuki, then there's Japan has Honda, and then Japan has uh, Nissan and Mitsubishi and so on. So it was trying to merge. Nissan and Honda were trying to merge so that they can survive and thrive as an as a stronger company. Just like every European company, a lot of European companies have merged, and it couldn't happen. So Nissan in India has sold to Renault. Renault. It's a Renault subsidiary now, French company Renault. It has sold to Renault, and they are now trying their best to hold in India, which is interesting. Which is very interesting. Arunas, do you think credit cards are dead? Blooms and Matrix of the world put up reports of how so much to be done since credit card penetration is lower global average, but in reality it will stay low. Oh, I talked about this by the way. I'm gonna come to that in a minute because there is a news regarding that, and it's something that they could have just asked Nishant Mittal. I'm just being humorous. Don't take with UPI on credit. BNPL only did the same. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. So very interestingly, tech adoption picks up in corporate India, so do job frauds. Well, is anybody surprised that job frauds are up because of tech adoption? It's like anybody surprised. Well, no. Well, no. But they still did a research on it. They also did a research, by the way. This is a very interesting news that they did a research. These people in the West, I guess it's some major university. They found out that human beings have a better sleep after sex. Sex leads to better sleep outcomes for human beings, uh, even if it's alone. Now, who didn't know that? Who in the world didn't know that it helps sleep? Let's like you could spend the rest of your life trying to find one person who doesn't agree with this, uh, and you won't be able to. In all likelihood, you won't be able to do that. But these people actually did a research on that, spent like a good chunk of money validating that. So that's interesting. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. Coming to what Mr. Arun Sharma was saying, pay later offerings wane as fintech pivot to EMI loans, consumer credit. Well, buy now, pay later is officially dead, folks. Buy now, pay later is officially dead. Uh, Apparently, Paytm has shut down its Paytm postpaid. PayU has moved Lazy Pay into KYC led RBI compliant version. MobiQuick shut down its Zip loans, and so on and so forth. If you remember, I wrote a post about it, like why do people need buy now pay later, especially in India. I wrote a thesis. I said, do credit cards work on the same principle? People said yes, and I said, is buy now pay later a riskier version of credit cards? People said yes, and then I said, would it be possible that NPAs, a credit card repayment, becomes a very big issue? People said yes. And I said, even if buy now pay later picks up as a concept, does it make sense to have standalone companies doing buy now pay later? Isn't it something that existing payment players or banks or e-commerce platforms will have on their own? uh, People said yes. And then I said, why do people need buy now pay later? Who needs buy now pay later? And people were like, okay. But the major argument for buy now pay later was that credit card penetration in India is very low as compared to people in the West. Somebody, Mr. Arun Sharma wrote that. Now, and I'm like, please ask why credit card penetration is low in India. Why don't we ask that question? Like, doesn't everybody who is eligible for credit cards gets like 5 calls in a day for credit cards? If that is true, and these people are getting offers after offers, like please take our credit card for free, please take our credit card for free, I'll personally pay you if you take this credit card, right? Almost that. Even then, if credit cards penetration is low, people, while Jandhan and while banking has spread across the nation, pretty much a mainstream thing, why is credit card penetration low? Maybe Indians are not interested in that much credit on personal purchases. Mudra scheme, on the other hand, for businesses is great, you know. So that was the thesis. But anyway, VCs went crazy on BNPL, extremely crazy. They went like all guns blazing, and it just blew up. Zest money is dead. Everybody's dead. Everybody's changed course. Again, once again, it was Lack of collection mechanism and lower LTV to CAC for tier 3 4. Snapman just raise a GC fund, I believe, empowering Misho's. Snapmint is that company which is into quick commerce thing, right? If I'm not wrong, I am not sure though. I read about it, but I'm just missing it with something else. Yeah, but Indian Klarna, okay, so that's BNPL essentially. Lack of, yeah, but that is a different company. So what they're doing is basically collection mechanism. That's not buy now pay later. That might or might not make sense. Oh, Snabit, that's what you're mentioning, right? Quick service app which offers hyper local on demand home services. No, you're talking about Snapmint. Okay, that's different. Yeah, similar to Axio, Snapmint is empowering Misho's PNPL. I get it. So VCs flock to Chennai as IIT Madras helps deep tech to take root. IIT Madras has a very big success to its name. Can anybody name that success from IIT Madras? The biggest probable consumer story from IIT Madras. Would anybody like to say that while I take another sip? I hope you had the simultaneous sip. It was so great. Yeah, A- Aether, correct, Mr. Arun Sharma. You're right. Aether. IIT Madras deserves credit for having incubated that company and supporting it a lot, while those people also got the support of Bansals from Flipkart. That's amazing, right? So VCs flock to Chennai as IIT Madras helps deep tech to take root. Well, no surprise there. No surprise. India's data center biz may pull in 25 billion in 6 years capacity to triple. That's very good news. Very good news for India. And I thank the government's policy for this. So government, as soon as it led the data localization play, that's when this began. That you have to have your data centers in India. And big tech resisted. But big tech resisted big time. If you remember, this happened in 2000. This happened, I guess, before Galwan clash in China or after it. I think it's somebody can check when did government's data localization norms begin. I think it was 2019 after Galwan, but either ways, those that happening led to flourishing of the data localization, and it's crazy the real estate investments that are happening on it, the jobs that it's creating, the real estate footprint, the investments. It's just incredible. It's next level. So that's pretty interesting, and I'm sure India's data center capacity to surpass 4,500 megawatts. And you know what? With these data centers and with everything, something else will also pick up, and that's gonna be energy requirement. And that energy might just be solar, but solar, since it has a lot of downsides, or let's say inadequacies, I'm very bullish on the nuclear play now. We might just see small nuclear reactors uh, propping up in India as well. And in fact, some work is going on in that zone. You know, existing nuclear plants are taking up. So that's that. Mintra bags 124 million from Singapore parent. Well, Mintra is the only profitable play of Flipkart that has been on for a very long time. And I wonder if Mukesh Bansal didn't sell out to Flipkart. I wonder what was the basis of Mukesh Bansal not raising more money than Flipkart itself. Because if you look at the trajectory of these companies, Mintra and Flipkart, you'll see that Mintra has always been net uh, more positive as far as net income is considered. Galwan was in 2020. So was it Galwan? Was it after Galwan that India led the data localization? I'm sorry, there's some latency with LinkedIn and YouTube, due to which I see comments late. But yeah, thank you for that. Anyway, so what I was saying was, Mintra was always a more profitable, greener e-commerce play. Even now, Flipkart is not making money at all. But and it's been so long. The company began in 2007 8, and it's been 15 years. Not 15 years. It's been 17 years, and the company is still losing $1 billion a year. And Mintra has been the profitable play. What led to Mintra not being able to acquire Flipkart? Mintra not being able to raise more money than Flipkart? That beats me. Like Mukesh Bansal started Mintra, Sachin Bansal and Binny Bansal were starting Flipkart. And since Mintra is growing and Mintra is showing so much of promise, and Mintra is also showing better unit economics, then why is it that Flipkart was able to raise more money than Mintra and acquire Mintra instead of the other way around? That's an interesting question, and answer to those questions like that exist in a book called Big Billion Day by Mihir Dalal. It's the biography of Flipkart. I've read that book, and I've also interviewed the author Mihir Dalal on my podcast, which I used to do years ago. It was called uh, I Read This Book, because I used to read a lot of books. So that was that. So looking forward to the next news. VC smell a big opportunity as pet care expands beyond food. Sure. VCs see a lot of smell a lot of opportunities. VCs are smelling a lot of opportunities with Aether. Sorry, with pet. Does it say what it wants to say? Do you get it? What VCs must be spelling? After food. So the headline is VC smell a big opportunity as pet care expands beyond food. Did you get the joke? Well, I hope you do. They're clearly not good at smelling shit though. Anyway, online betting and realty companies leading violators of ad code. Well, again, nothing surprising. Online betting and reality companies are leading violators of ad code, of course, because they try to advertise without declaring conflicts of interest, or uh, you know conflicts of interest, and even the paid partnership material, and also a lot of their advertisements are just plain fraudulent, because इतने पैसे कमाए रियल एस्टेट में इतने पैसे आप कमा सकते हैं, बेट करके आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं, पैसा आगे बढ़ाइए. So no surprise there. British Petroleum's Castrol business draws interest from Reliance. That's cool. Government warns e-commerce companies on dark patterns. And the picture which is being used in this article is something like, can you see it? The government is warning uh, e-commerce companies of dark patterns. Everybody knows about dark patterns. Half of LinkedIn is full of dark patterns. Oh, Zepto, why did you do this? I was ordering this and this is what happened and that. What do you expect, man? What do you expect? Anyway, future hazy for BharatNet as Starlink and Kuiper I BharatNet. That's a wordplay. Zepto lafda kya hai? Mr. Arun Sharma, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're so right. That's what I'm talking about with the whole thing. So, um, I've written a long post about Zepto. I wrote that Zepto is a terrible business model, and that post I did a huge research on why it's a bad business model, and why it doesn't make sense to deliver anything in 10 minutes, because the delivery costs are highest, and the per capita income of the country is not enough to justify the premium that this service needs to sustain itself, and so on and so forth. And groceries are very low margin businesses, and so on and so forth. But I should give credit where it's due, and I should say where I might just be proven wrong tomorrow. It's that It's that I didn't see these companies selling high value items like fridges and PlayStations and iPhones and ACs or whatnot, extremely high value items in 10 minutes. I didn't see that happening. That was something I did not see coming. I didn't expect that people would be interested in buying an iPhone in through these mediums, and or TVs for that matter, or huge electronics, expensive electronics. But if that happens, that radically changes the equation of profitability for these companies, because one of that purchase cancels a lot of these bad purchases. However, it's to be seen whether that is enough for making these companies go green. That's not enough. It needs a cash cow like Zomato and Swiggy to food to sustain. Sure, it needs a lot of money, and I'm still not convinced that they will be able to make money, but they've done better than I thought they would. And also, I really wanted them to fail personally, because their success would come at the cost of all the kirana stores and shopkeepers that I really believe are essential to our economy and are also our society. So even in my near my house there are markets, and those markets had a lot of shops, and those shops were center of commerce and community, right? But what has happened is those shops have started getting demolished, and in places of lots of shops are these dark stores. And these dark stores are basically killing the community, and also not just killing the community, they are killing the commerce. Because if you kill a shop, you're killing five people's employment. And a lot of people think, no, dark stores also lead to employment. No, they don't. No, they don't. So if for every five jobs that these people kill, they might just be able to create half jobs. Like they might just be only be able to replace only 10% of the jobs they'll end up killing. And that's math. I can prove it to you mathematically, and I've written a lot about it. But probably that's where it's going now. And then at the end of it, they'll figure out that they can't even make money. Their valuations won't justify. So all of that investment will be like Oyo or Ola or something like that, where you invest everything, you disrupt businesses, you disrupt commerce, you disrupt community, you destroy a lot of things, and then you find out, oh, well, it wasn't worth it. Anyway, inflation and unemployment risks. Okay. New capital framework gives RBI more room to handle its finances. They just change, the framework. They edited a little. Earlier, it was some 6.5% or 7% or something off. So what was it earlier? During monetary instability, the buffer range was expected to expand from 4.5 to 5% to 3.5 to 6% of the RBI's balance sheet. The fixed buffer of 6.5 was replaced with a flexible range of 6 to 1.5% either ways, plus minus. This is gonna be good for the government because the residue of this comes to the government as income. So RBI pays to the government, right? Like just 2 days ago, there was a news. I discussed it in Thinkers Frequency that Idea had a record payment to the government, 2.2 lakh crores or something, which was very good for the government. So this is probably a step in that direction. Not probably, it's actually a step in that direction. So a lot of good news for Indian government right now. Well, not really, but yeah, steps in that direction. Adani Energy Solutions board to take a fundraise plan. Sure. Uh, Follow on round possible for Dhan. Sure, of course. There is a company which is very important for the US stock market and even in fact the global stock market. It's called Nvidia. What do you think about Nvidia, guys? What do you think about Nvidia? After you've talked about Nvidia, I'm going to say something very interesting I know about Nvidia, which is absolutely phenomenal. Well, there's latency, so I can't stay silent for that long. I'll just quickly talk about Nvidia. So Nvidia crossed a market cap of $3 trillion, and people saw that it might just be growing again. It might have room to grow even further as a company, and it's a very important company for the world, for US, for everybody, especially US. Like what happens now? But then tariffs happened, but then everything happened. And then right now the verdict is that people might have missed the rally on Nvidia. They might have missed the rally on Nvidia. That means that Nvidia stock might not have uh, that level of room to grow as far as its stock's value is considered. Uh, Now Nvidia's earnings are gonna be out, but yes, tariff situation, them having to come out with a less potent version to sell in China, them not being allowed to sell in China, then Hang Seng sir saying that if we don't sell to China, Huawei is gonna catch up to us, and so on and so forth. Somebody saw this coming. Somebody saw this coming. It was not me, of course. It was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel said that Nvidia might just not be that strong a monopoly buy as people are making it out to be. He said Nvidia's monopoly is temporary at best. This is from an interview from a year ago. I watch all Peter Thiel interviews. I read everything that he writes. In fact, I even read the books he recommends. Not just the books he's written. He's written two books: Diversity Myth and Zero to One. But he's also recommended a lot of books. Number one is Cryptonomicon, Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World, 15 Decisive Battles for Human History. So I read the books he recommends. So he was the one who said that Nvidia's monopoly or Nvidia's stock is very fragile, that it could crack, and it might just not be a value buy anymore. And people asked him and said why. He said no manufacturing company, no product company can sustain that kind of competitive edge for a long time. You'll see a lot of companies making products like Nvidia and almost as good, which will start eating up to their margins. Right now, the company has like 70%, 80% margins. They'll start eating those margins up. And when that happens, the company will become a commodity play. That was his thesis. And he said you are free to look at examples from the past, that it's not without a layer of software, without some sort of vertical integration, Nvidia might just be on the race to become a commodity play. I'm not sure how much time it's going to take for Peter Thiel's prediction, if you can call it, to come true, but that is something that is to be taken note of. He's probably looking right. I also think there's less room for Nvidia to grow now. Andhra 4-lane corridor receives cabinet approval. Good for Andhra. Good for Andhra, of course. Railways to arrive at net zero station ahead of schedule. That's amazing, right? Railways are already net zero. They say that by December 1 December 2025 we'll have reached scope 1 net zero. Scope 1 net zero is essentially the elimination of direct greenhouse gases, and then by 2030 we'll achieve net zero. We'll be basically, that's awesome. But I don't have good experience with railways. I recently went to MP. I was just And also Lucknow by train. That was just horrible. Finally, George Lucas Museum Dream is delayed again. George Lucas, though, for the ones who don't know, is the creator of Star Wars movie franchise. Is the director of Star Wars, the first one, the director, producer also. So his movies have done more business than Belgium's GDP. Is the joke. So after having such enormous, almost incomparable success, George Lucas decided 10 years ago. or 15 years ago that he's going to make a museum. Now, why do people want to make museums? The ultra rich guys, the ones who have literally won the fight for money. Why do these people look at making museums? Is something that's to be that's that you should think about. Like Paul Allen sir, he made a museum of arts, and Sunil Kant Munjal sir has made a museum, Brij Mohan Lal Museum. He's making it uh, in the honor of Heroes founder Brij Mohan Lal Munjal sir. Uh, Shiv Nadar, uh, the family of Shiv Nadar has also made a museum in Saket. Why do these people look at making museums? Is it because museums have outlasted business empires in the world? When you go to France or when you go to any European country and you look at history, what stands there are not companies of, let's say, 500 years ago or 600 years ago. What stands there are museums and art centers. Is it the reason why these people actually look at preserving art even if they didn't have anything to do with art throughout their lives? That's not true for Paul Allen sir. That's also not true for Sunil Khan Manjal sir. He's a very big art aficionado. Runs Serendipity Arts Festival. But is it true that it's a legacy play? That's a question I wish to ask a lot of people. Like, how? What do you think about when you've won the battle for money? Right? Do you just keep making money, or do you go and think about legacy and having a museum? Or another thing is when people, the multi-billionaire sorts, they look at creating universities and colleges because companies by design are finite in nature and universities by design are infinite in nature. You know, that's a very interesting thing. And again, who said that? Peter Thiel. That companies are by design finite. Like every company is gonna eventually go out of business, but universities are by design infinite. They just keep going. They never die. Centers of education. So that's perhaps why these people look at. Oh, by the way, Sunil Khan Manjal sir has also started BML University. A lot of these billionaires have started universities. Shiv Nadar has a university, and Shiv Nadar family, respectfully. Okay, Elon Musk says that he's not happy with Trump's big beautiful bill. Well, that's no surprise. That's no surprise. Can anybody tell me why it's no surprise that Elon Musk is not happy with the big beautiful bill? Do you guys have context on the big beautiful bill? So Trump government has started a big beautiful bill. It is, and nobody's happy for it. Like Scott Adams sir, I was listening to him. He's not happy, and Elon Musk is clearly not happy. And why they're not happy is because it goes in the opposite direction of cutting the fiscal deficit. US has a debt deficit trouble. Elon Musk says that US will implode. There's no question of if it will implode, it's question of when it will implode. And to cut that debt deficit problem, uh, US needs to drastically cut spending. That's why he joined Doge because he sees this as an existential threat for the country, that the country is going to explode. And that's what Ray Dalio also wrote in his book, The Debt Trouble, the cycle of debt. I read his recent, there was first one is Principle and then The New World Order. The New World Order, the debt cycle, where he talks about 80-year debt cycle and so on and so forth. So in that, he has clearly mentioned that US is going to default on its debt sometime soon. And when it defaults, uh, there's going to be not just recession, there's going to be a depression. And when that depression happens, there's going to be a change of control as far as the global world economy is considered. So he doesn't mention the dates or years when it's that gonna happen, but he said it's gonna happen. In the book, at least, he says he expects this to happen in 2025 or 2026. He's given a very vague indication of this. So, in this big beautiful bill, there's a lot of US spending. Now, uh, exacerbated spending. So, if that exacerbated spending happens, US debt levels will go further up. And the interest of those debt payments will be larger than something you know, exorbitant. So, US won't be able to service its debt. And if US defaults on its debt, US could lose everything, including its position, including dollar's position as the reserve currency. These are the things that people speculate, and not people like Elon Musk and Ray Dalio and everybody else. You know, they're saying, and Scott Adams has gone as far as saying that if this bill goes through, Trump's presidency will be an absolute failure, utter failure. Like no matter what Trump does in any of other things. If this bill goes through, Trump is done. I mean, Trump's presidency will be an absolute failure. BOJ's long-term bond holdings fall for the first time. No surprise there. They're changing the country's economic and finance strategy. And EU plans 10 billion euros fund to narrow tech gap with US and China. Too little, too late, man. EU has lost the buck. EU is a US tech colony, and EU is also going to be a Chinese tech colony now, and there's nothing it can do about it. And 10 billion euros is not going to make it. So no bullishness on EU or Europe. They're done. Unfortunately, with all the things that they did in the last 15 years, it's 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 almost impossible that they'll come back. So with that, we wrap up the fourth episode of Thinker's Frequency with Nishant Mittal. It's 9 a.m. We are going to start working, and I hope you have a beautiful day at work. I hope your day goes really well. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for everyone who commented and interacted and joined. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Bye.